This episode of the New Hampshire Business Show is sponsored by Everlasting Capital. If you're a small business and you need money and a bank won't give it to you, Everlasting Capital is here to help. In as quickly as a couple of days, you can have the funding your business needs for new equipment or anything else you're going to need the capital for. So submit your application today and see how they can help you out. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the New Hampshire Business Show. My name is Chris Pastrana, and today we're here with Peter Berson of Aveli By WSI. How's it going?
Good, Chris. How are you today?
Good. So let's get started. Tell me a little about yourself and the business.
Sure. My name is Peter Berson, like you said. I've been out of college for about 25-ish years. I have a background in a graduate computer science degree from Framingham State College, now called Framingham State University. After that, I went into the field, started doing quality assurance, software engineering. I later then moved on to out of development because I had some really great opportunities to work on my project all by myself and kind of could gear that project anywhere I wanted to go. I then moved into professional services, and I quickly realized that going directly to the customer was the best way to get what you want in a product. What I mean by that is if there's a $1 million customer that you've sold to and they say they want the product to have feature A, B, and C, everybody in the company all of a sudden now listens to you and says, yeah, I guess we really should be doing that. And so that kind of put me down this customer path and getting into more customer-facing roles. I did professional services, then I went into sales engineering. That got me involved in marketing by being at trade shows, doing demos a lot, being in front of customers constantly, being on site with customers for months at a time, traveling all over the world. Been to most continents, I think, except for Africa and Antarctica. But I've gone all the way to Australia. I've been to Asia and Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Japan. I've been in Europe, and I've been all through the U.S. and into Mexico. Basically doing consulting and customizations of software packages that we sold. This summer, I shifted. It was my third time getting through a reorg at 3 different companies in about 3 or 4 year time period. I decided that it's time for me to kind of do my own, be my own boss and be my own, start my own business. I wanted to do this for a while. Each time that I was laid off, I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work on starting my own business while I'm looking for a job. But in software, we call the 80-20 rule. Like we work on 80% here, and like we try to satisfy 80%. That 80% was looking for a job, and 20% was working on a business. So I always found jobs. This time, I completely shifted it and said 80% of my focus is going to be finding a business or a service that I can deliver, and I'll interview as well in case something just comes along. So I worked with a Suzanne Gray from Wellfleet Consulting. She kind of helped me find a franchise. She's a kind of a franchise consultant, and she helps figure out what you're looking to do, what's your skill set, what are your goals in a franchise, and then basically meets with you and says, here are the franchises that I picked out. And then at that point, you go through the process of figuring out which one you want to talk to, and kind of the process of being awarded a franchise. That's kind of how it works. I didn't know this. I thought, a franchise, you just write them a check and you'd be able to open up the franchise, right? No, that's not the way it works. It's basically going through a job process that requires you to write a check.
Yeah.
So you're awarded the franchise. She helped me figure out which one. I then went down through the interview process of interviewing these to make sure it's the right fit. And you talk to like the first person, that's like the VP of development, and then you go up to her. You go up one level from that, and then eventually you get, in this particular franchise, it's just WSI World, you get to talk to the co-founder. And you take another thing, it's called a desk assessment, which is like a personality. It's kind of like Myers-Briggs, but different. And then they present you in front of a review board, and then they tell you if you are awarded it or not. I was awarded the franchise. I said unanimously. I don't know if that happens to everybody, but that's what the letter said. And then you go to training and you eventually, open it up. This is a service franchise, WSI World, so it's different than a brick and mortar. When we think of franchise, we think of like Dunkin' Donuts and KFC and McDonald's. But or you can think of like Handyman's another franchise. So that's different. There wasn't a lot of upfront costs. It was basically paying the franchise fee, and then here's the structure of how they wanted the model to work. So that's kind of how I got started back in September, and then I went to training in December.
Okay. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why? As I know you said you talked to a consultant and she kind of picked a few companies. What kind of drew you towards the digital marketing realm?
Yeah. So one of the pieces I told her I like STEM because I actually was involved in a STEM company in Westford for a little bit, kind of part-time when I was looking for a job. That really interests me. I think my background in Boy Scouts and working with children in education, I have a lot of interest in that.
Yeah.
Maybe go back to school to be a teacher. But then I kind of looked at, what it would take to do that and kind of where I would start in a salary. And it didn't really fit my, kind of lifestyle at this point in my life. It really would be going way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And there was another one, it's like a service where a tutor doctor was one of the ones I looked at. And there was like 2 maids and a mop. And that I felt I would be a businessman and I'd just be operating a business. Mm-hmm. And it didn't seem to, it would use my business skills, but I wouldn't be able to use the 25 plus years of technical skills and knowledge and consulting. So when I looked at WSI, I quickly did this. She just gave me 5, and I put 2 in one pile and put 2 in another pile. And this WSI one was like, wait a minute, it's utilizing the skills I understand. Mm-hmm. I said, I want to talk to this one first. Yeah. And then kind of how I went through it, and it kept feeling, in my gut, and my wife said the same thing, this one feels like the best suited for you and your abilities. And that was very clear when we were talking to the founders and the franchise development folks at WSI. They were like, yes, we see the synergy of everything that you've done in the past. We think that you would be very successful in our franchise. And the main thing there is WSI doesn't want to have a bunch of technical people implementing websites. They want mainly marketing consultants, trusted advisors, sales consultants. And that's what they're looking for. What they offer is one, they do have this brand. We're about 1,200 plus franchisees throughout 80 different countries. Mm-hmm. And as part of being this larger network, they can go out and negotiate deals with companies like HubSpot, Adobe, SharpSpring, Reachable Local, a whole bunch of companies that make products. And then we also have people that produce, and basically our fulfillment centers, that produce websites, SEO campaigns, paid search campaigns, and so forth. And because we're large, we're a Google Alliance Premier Partner. So that is pretty powerful as it by itself, because Google talks to us. I believe once a quarter we have our open forum where they tell everybody in the network that wants to join the call. We can ask questions, and we kind of find out what Google's planning. Like, we knew about Google Plus going away before the rest of the public knew. Yeah. They were like, oh, start preparing your clients. This is going to go away at this time. They also tell us about services that Google is shifting towards in the year, or they'll tell us about an algorithm update. So we have that ability. One of the other pieces with what we call our top guns, our top ICs, we've formulated a SEO program called Adaptive SEO. And this is working together with Google to say, how can we develop SEO campaigns? And when you make your algorithm change, it won't take your SEO rankings and put them in the toilet. Yeah. And mainly 45% of our model is about content. And then there's, it's kind of this big pyramid. Yeah. And the big part is the content. And there's, the basics of H1 heading and, meta description and titles and things to that effect. But we really push content because that survives the algorithm changes. Yeah. There are a lot of other called black hat SEO, was done, then all of a sudden Google changed the algorithm and the pages were delisted, or they're on page 30, went from 1 to 30 in one evening.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. So this actually brings up a really good area, and that's, someone can say marketing, and that means a billion things. So let's focus on, what do you guys handle? What do you guys typically do? Because I think that gives the audience a pretty good idea of what we're talking about.
Right. So we handle more on the digital marketing side. Yep. So if you're looking to put up billboards, or you're looking to do TV or radio ads, we don't necessarily do that in our network, although there are people in the network that came from that space.
Yeah, so they probably have connections and stuff.
And part of their franchise/agency, they do both. They do the digital stuff, but they still will do some traditional marketing. Yeah. Just because that's, I forget what's down in New Jersey. Basically, he came from that space and he was seeing that shift. And he joined WSI, I think in 2000, right around the .com bust, and he joined the network because he knew that traditional marketing was changing, and he needed to figure out what this digital marketing was all about. So he still kept that piece of his business, and he still does a portion of the business today. Mm-hmm. But for me, I stick mainly in digital marketing. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean, like, if you wanted to do a billboard, I might have people in the network that I could say, hey, could you help me out, run, get this person on a billboard at, like, the Lowell Spinners game or something like that. But majority, we focus on digital marketing. And what does that entail? Digital marketing could be, in the core, it's a responsive website, and then everything ties back into that website, from inbound marketing from like a tool of HubSpot, to social integration with your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's becoming really large. Yeah. To drive traffic into your website and convert that. Paid search, which is Google ads, Bing ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Instagram paid stories, or paid ads. Then we have other aspects like reputation management. If you're a restaurant, we have software in our network that can help you monitor your reputation. You want to be on top of when people are leaving you reviews. Yeah. And if they leave you bad reviews, sometimes you can do you can release a reply to it. Sometimes it was like, can I remove a bad review? And it's really hard to actually remove a bad review, because think about, Google's worried about the quality. And if all of a sudden they said every restaurant that complains about bad reviews, and they were removing them, and they only showed the 5-star reviews, then what would the quality of Google's review system be? Yeah. If it's like blatantly like illegal or something to that effect, there's a process that Google will go through and remove that if you can prove that. But my always thing is, ask for Google reviews and try to get a lot of them so when you get that bad review, on the average, you're a 4.5-star review because you got a few, low ones because somebody was angry at you. Yeah, so
and we're gonna jump onto the review thing. I've had this conversation before. Reviews aren't necessarily a bad thing. Like, I know a lot of people don't trust 5-star only companies because it's kind of like, right, you expect companies to have some bad reviews. Yeah. Well. So so 4.5 up. Okay, you're probably looking at a pretty good company. But, there's a point for reviews, and I think some people get it a little crazy, but that's another topic, I guess.
Well, I actually look for the low reviews and review them. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, well, it doesn't, there's a lot of good ones, and the comments that they're making, to me, isn't really valid. Yeah. Just because something has a bunch of low reviews doesn't mean I won't buy that product or go to that restaurant. Yeah. As long as the numbers are outweighing.
Yeah, and a lot of times, 1-star reviews are someone being petty. Like that comes across very easily when you're like, oh, the restaurant's dirty, or this person was, rude, and I'm like,
took forever.
What does that mean? Yeah, it could be anything. Right. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah, I get it. So let's get into this. Let's see. So we talked about marketing, some stuff. So what are people typically doing wrong? So this is an area where people get into digital marketing, as we were talking about a little bit earlier. People expect it to be cheap, easy. Yeah, you throw up a Facebook page and all of a sudden you're famous. Where should people be kind of starting, looking, what are they doing wrong,
So, yeah, and I've actually had this. As I get more and more involved with different customers, I had lunch the other day. This is a relatively decent, large company in Littleton, and she's like, "Yeah, we engaged with a marketing agency once, and to help us with marketing, but the problem was that what they did for us, they were sending us leads. So that's basically what we all want. You want leads to come into your website. You want to convert those leads to sales. Mm-hmm. So they were generating whatever content for their website or on social platforms, but it was geared to the wrong persona. No. So this is a company that deals with training people how to do really good keynotes, or a bunch of professional actors, and they help people deliver keynotes in these user conferences, large user conferences with 6,000 people. They don't want to talk to one salesperson at a company. Yeah. They want to talk to the whole entire sales department, or their whole engineering department that's about to deliver a keynote to like a convention like the Worldwide Developer Conference at Apple. Mm-hmm. So their personas that this marketing company was doing was wrong. That they either didn't listen to them or didn't have a conversation with them to the point where they understood their business, they understood their services, and they understood the personas. Personas is a buyer, like who are your buyers? Yeah. And each company can have more than one buyer, and you need to understand that and develop a marketing strategy around those buyers. And they did it wrong. And so they left them with a bad taste in the mouth. Another one example of people implementing paid search incorrectly. There's like broad search, exact search, and there's 3 matching systems. Where broad search says if I'm looking for, fishing tackle in New Hampshire, mm-hmm. and it's a broad search, it takes those words. Oh, look, this one is looking for fishing, so I'm going to show the ad. Well, no, really, it was a fishing tackle shop, not like instructions on how to go fishing. Yeah. So then, somebody will click on that ad, and I know what ads are and which aren't, what's paid search and what's not. Most people don't. They're like, oh, it's at the top of the page. I'm going to click. Yeah. That just costs that company whatever that keyword was. So by implementing it wrong, these companies are paying thousands of dollars to Google and not converting the traffic. So that's a common, or people try to do this on their own and don't understand the system. There's somebody else I worked with, and I said, well, you can put the phone number and you can actually save money. You can do impressions or clicks. Well, you can add call extensions to put the number on the ad. So they may not even click the ad. They may just call it. She's like, I can't do that. I'm like, well, your competitor is. Google allows this. And she didn't have the proper knowledge to figure out how to implement her paid search on Google to do that. So those are the kind of the mistakes. The piece that we kind of inform is we want you to do your business. If you're a catering company, we want you to do catering, not focus on marketing, especially in the solo entrepreneur type mm-hmm. companies. Not focus on marketing paid search, because there's so much to learn between Facebook and all the social platforms, your website, and now investing money in paid ads. And Instagram is starting to become very big. It's actually, for ad spend, mm-hmm. Instagram's looking like right now it's the cheaper of all of them. Yeah. Especially if you listen to Gary Vaynerchuk. He's like, oh, Instagram's where it's at. And for certain audiences, that's a good idea. So that is what I see. Or, people, another one is, and I usually test things out pretty quickly, is like if somebody's going to write content, send me a sample content and I'll see if I would post that online under my name. And some people send content and you're reading it, like you can tell that this person's not a native English speaking person, which is fine if you want to write content. And the content itself wasn't bad, but you should have handed it to somebody in the region that you're putting it in. Yeah. Right? Like I wouldn't write content for a French company because I don't know French that well. Yeah. Or if I did, I would definitely give it to a French speaking person. Yeah. So that they review it and it sounds correct for the language. Yeah. Those are several of the mistakes that again, that customer's like, I can do better posting to Facebook than this person I'm paying. And I said, once, why didn't you approve this stuff? He's like, well, they just do it automatically for me. I'm like, well, that's your business. It should be sending you copy for you to approve, and then say, yeah, let's post that, and that, on a scheduled basis. Yeah, these are several of the mistakes that I come across on a daily basis. And so I'm there trying to do damage control, because they're like, what makes you different? The other aspect is I've been doing a lot of business strategy / marketing strategy. It's like, are you pricing your products correctly? Maybe you could be getting more money for your products than you are. And have you tested pricing strategy? I spent that's another thing. I spent time out at a digital marketers conference. The digital market is an education company that develops playbooks for people to implement. They love agencies, and they put on this traffic and conversion summit. I think this year was its 10th anniversary. There were 6,000 marketers from around the world that attend the summit. Richard Branson gave the keynote speech on the opening night. Rachel Hollis, another famous author, gave the second day keynote. And there were just so many famous marketers that were there, as well as the president, that there's so much education that I got out of that. And I invest in my business. They're like, somebody on the network go, I love to see what these conventions do to the bottom line. I'm like, the bottom line is, if I'm getting educated and be able to consume a lot of marketing education in 3 days, that's worth it to me. Because that just makes me a better marketer. Because a bunch of people in the network went to the social media examiner summit out in San Diego. For me, it was like 2 back-to-backs. I can only do one or the other. And again, it's like that was all focused on social media. So it's kind of like getting around with other marketers, and you can exchange ideas, and you're just building up your knowledge to become a better marketer when you go back to your region.
So outside of conferences and some things like this, how are you staying on top of a lot of things that change in the market? Because it changes pretty quickly, especially in like the digital world.
So there's a couple aspects. Is one, that's kind of the advantage too of being part of their franchise. We have once a month we have a open forum call, where usually part of that call will be a showcase customer that somebody will, throughout those 1,200 people, a deal that they had closed and what they did and what was the strategies implemented for that. Other aspect is everybody's part of the 1,200 network. So you get like 1,200 brains like working on their own problems, and they roll stuff up. They're like, I just found this great tool that I've been using and seeing excellent results. So that gets rolled up into corporate, and then corporate will look at it and says, yeah, I think we want to roll this out to the network. We're going to go contact that company. And a good example is Drift here in Boston. Sorry, I'm in New Hampshire. Right? They're an incredible conversational marketing company. Their product is really good. They do excellent marketing, and they have like 150,000 plus customers. So we caught wind of that, and we're like, we keep hearing about Drift. And so we're trying to work with that company to bring it into the network and make it available for everybody, so we don't have to go individually direct to that company and work out, sell it to our clients. So that is, and then we meet once a year at our global convention. So even there, we're all collaborating together. So instead of being this one individual person, trying to consume everything, we have this kind of network that we all bounce ideas off of. And for myself, it's staying on top of podcasts from like HubSpot. It's staying on top of like social media puts out a podcast where they're always having different people on. I listened to one the other day. Is how did you what does today's Twitter look like compared to yesterday's Twitter? What are the changes in their algorithm? So that, on top of books, reading tons and tons of books.
That's pretty cool.
And just consuming data and following the right people on Facebook. I mean, Gary Vee's pumping out data like all the time, and he'll say something, and go research that. And then testing things. What works in your market. what may work out in California may not work in Boston.
Yeah. There's one thing I've been making fun of people for. I shouldn't say making fun of, but yeah, making fun of. Like, for some reason, once you get east of, like, New York-ish, kind of that area, it just gets, like, super old school, where everyone all of a sudden's like, word of mouth. We're going to build our entire business on word of mouth marketing. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't really work, because if no one knows about you, how are they going to find you? Because no one's talking about you. Right. So, you're just saying, like, when you get to places like Boston, New York, Miami, LA, it seems like the companies have a bigger understanding of the marketing world and how important it is. And then you kind of get outside of that and everyone's like, oh, I'm just going to talk to my friends and neighbors and my business is going to do well.
Well, and that will work. It depends on what you want to do and how big you want your business to be.
Yeah.
So, I talk to people, I get 80% as referral.
Yeah.
Great. That's awesome. Okay, and you get 20% of other. Even this company I'm talking to, hopefully on Friday, they get a lot of referral business because they do a good job. And when one person leads a large corporation, then goes into the other company, they call them back and says, I want to work with you again. That is tremendous. But what about the other 20% that's, or the other percentage that's not really finding you because the SEO plan is not right, your content's a little bit off, you're kind of not out there. You're doing X amount of revenue. Well, wouldn't it be nice to do 2X that if we were to implement more in marketing? A lot of the stuff we say is you should be spending like roughly 9% on marketing.
So 9% of
your gross revenue.
Okay. Monthly or yearly?
Oh, yearly.
Same thing, I guess.
Yeah, same. So there's something else that's incredible about the network. We have 1,200 marketers. So we put together the client intelligence report for internal use. Mm-hmm. So we survey all of these people. How long? What's your client lifetime value? What is the foot in the door product that you've been selling? What is the percentage of marketing that they're contributing, they're spending compared to their gross revenue? And then we're starting to break it down by industry. So in the tech field, it's actually a little bit higher than that. And in other fields, a little bit lower, but that's kind of like the medium number. Okay. So that, so all of this stuff, as I read, I gave you the Digital Mind book that's on Amazon. That's the second edition. The third edition will be coming out, I believe, in June.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to push out I got a case of them. I'm like, oh, should I not buy it?
Ditch the old ones.
They're like, don't worry. It's going to be like June, July. Well, now I'm like, oh my gosh, it's still June, July. And no more. But when I looked at WSI, I'm like, these guys wrote a book. Well, if your company is willing to invest in like a book, because they're preaching they want other people to drink the Kool-Aid. It also gave me the opportunity before I went down and decided to do the franchise, who they are and are they real?
Yeah.
I had enough knowledge to be able to read the book and say, yeah, those are the right techniques. I learned a lot, but I had enough background to say, yeah, that's what I would be doing.
Yeah.
And the book breaks out everything, marketing automation. I haven't even talked about that. It's, small businesses kind of harder to do that. It's a little bit expensive, but as you grow, you want to automate to some extent, how you're getting your leads and how those leads are turning into opportunities and how you respond to those leads. But don't automate your whole entire company because people get the sense of that. So now we're seeing the balance of, doing the unscalable things. Because we want to measure everything, which we do. We want to automate everything, which we do. But every now and then, you kind of have to be kind of organic. This podcast I was listening to Twitter. It's like, they'll respond to a tweet or they'll like a tweet. And then I go to their news, their Twitter feed. They're sending the same exact tweets out to everybody.
Yeah.
So you can tell that it's automated and they're not really engaging with their audience. And the ones that are doing it well, like Rachel Hollis, are engaging with their audience, are actually responding. And that's, from a marketing level, that's, I think, which is so different. If I wanted to reach out to somebody when I was a kid, it was literally like writing a letter, putting it in the mail.
Yeah.
Or I guess you picked up the phone and then you never really get to anybody famous, or like maybe your senators you might be able to get through. Nowadays, I can, pick up my phone and direct message like Gary Vaynerchuk. Or at a conference, Amy Morin, who wrote 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do, was speaking at the conference. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting in the conference. I'm like, at Amy Morin, great talk. I really enjoyed it. Loved, interested in learning more about you. And then she liked my tweet, and I'm like, okay, well, hey, I have my synagogue. We do a brotherhood breakfast. Mm-hmm. How could I get you to speak? She's like, I'll speak to my publicist. And so now we're starting this conversation, and I found out she's a little bit expensive. Yeah. But we're going to work on something. Hopefully, she does some nonprofit, and I'm constantly having this conversation directly with her. I was with AT&T, and I'm still with AT&T, and Twitter's an excellent platform to use for customer support. If you don't like something about your product, Twitter's where you want to be, is one of the methods to do it. And I was tweeting about AT&T, and I said at T-Mobile, at the CEO of T-Mobile. CEO of T-Mobile replied to me, said, "Come on over." And then I'm talking to the sales guy. I'm like, "Oh, is that really? Is that was that like an automated response?" He's like, "No, that guy loves Twitter."
Yeah. Well.
And that's what's changing, right?
Yeah.
How you do that, your customers feel that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they start feeling the brand loyalty. They start feeling the community. They want to buy more products.
Yeah. And I was talking to someone about this earlier today, and she asked me if people care about these types of interviews, And I'm like, yes, because especially the younger generations, like mine, the millennials, and then was it Gen Z or whatever the next one is?
Yeah.
These people care a lot about who's working in the company. So, the reason I sit down and talk to people is because when someone looks this interview up and they listen to it because they want to work with you, they now have, 45 minutes worth of you talking about why you love the company. And either that comes off as authentic, which hopefully for most people it does, or people are like, I want to work with him because he seems like he has no idea what he's talking about, But it's very real and authentic, and that's why I love these types of interviews, because now someone can, like you said, they can look you up and be like, he knows what he's talking about. I want to work with him.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and my friend that wrote a book, Philosophy on Golf, Michael Zildjian. He also states that he shifted his career. He used to be in music, and he shifted his career, and this is what he wanted to decide to do. But he also states pretty honest, I don't know everything, but this is kind of how I feel, and you interpret that. That kind of happened to how I got into this franchise business was kind of organically. Somebody said, "Hey, do you know anything about small and medium business? My friend's looking to start a business. Would you talk to him?" I go, "Yeah, I've sold a little bit. I worked for Sophos. That was the market we were selling into my previous company. Our customer's customer was small and medium businesses." I said, "Yeah, have him look at my LinkedIn profile, and I'll be glad to talk to him if he wants to talk." So then he's like, "Yeah, let's meet at Panera." And we had an hour conversation. It's like, this is what I know. This is my experience. I'll share it with you. You take whatever tidbits you want from that, our conversation, and you deal with, and you digest that.
Yeah.
The people will figure out what's working and what's not. Mm-hmm. And I fact checked some of the stuff, or if I've had another digital marketer, it says Twitter's dead. I go, really? I'm like, I use Twitter, and we know that somebody else in the big powerful position in the country uses Twitter a lot. I'm like, I don't think it's dead. I think it's used for certain pieces.
Yeah.
Live events, Twitter's the platform.
Yeah.
Maybe Instagram is starting to do that now with live events.
Yeah. Instagram, I've noticed, is pretty good with stories and the live talking and stuff. Twitter's a great PR company. We can literally just talk to your entire audience at once. It's great for that.
Right. And the other, so they said a couple things: customer support, and this is the podcast is listening to social media examiner, live events, which I agreed with. And then it says breaking news, which I also agree with, because it's very fast to get out the information. I remember several years ago, Comcast had a big outage on the whole Northeast, It was technical thing. They did something with the domain name service, and something got messed up, and basically it couldn't do a lookup of the name. Like Apple.com resides to an actual number that has to route it, and they made a mistake and basically screwed up that nothing was able to look up the real number. And so what I did is I was able to jump on Twitter, use my mobile service because my internet wasn't working.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it says, it's a DNS issue. Go change your DNS off of Comcast on your router and route it to Google. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, now I know what it is, and I fixed it. But it was like you couldn't even get to the internet, and Twitter was blasting out. Everyone was blasting some bad comments at Comcast, but it also had the fix.
Yeah.
I mean, United is like some of the other airlines are you can tweet, and they'll ask you direct out message me on your flight number. We want to see what we can do. So it's customer support, live events, and breaking news. I just like. And also a conversation. I think it's another platform where you can start to try to generate a conversation. Mm-hmm. So I still like Twitter. So I mean, I looked up. I basically said, I found information from other people, not me, saying no, Twitter's not dead. This is what it's used for, and I post that out to my my networks and LinkedIn and all that. Like, Twitter isn't dead.
Pretty cool.
According to this, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to just say it. I want to get other people in the industry to say it, or back up what I'm saying. Right. Back up. If you don't believe me, well, maybe you'll believe this person.
Yeah. Pretty cool. So we've covered a lot. It's been over 40 minutes now. For anyone that wants to reach out, learn a little more, get more in depth, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. So. So the company is Aveli, Aveli by WSI, and that's also all of our social media handles are that at Aveli by WSI on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. That's something else that is if you're going to start a business, try to look up the handles before you figure out the name of your business.
Yeah.
And the other thing is Google the name of your business to not find if another business is using that name, but what other stuff shows up in the Google listing.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to dominate that page, and you don't want to be confused with another business or a movie or things to that effect. And I'm like trying to help companies. I'm like, did you Google the name of your business before you started it?
Yeah.
Because like there's there's like a movie that's like the same name as your business, and you're losing kind of like traffic to that. You're losing space on Google's search engine result page.
Yeah.
So then our website is Aveli by WSI, Aveli by WSI.com. We're actually right now it's the franchise's profile page, but I'm bringing up a brand new website relatively shortly. Part of the Gary V thing is you need to give stuff away.
Yeah.
So we have some tools in the network, and I'm trying to figure out how to use one of those tools to offer a website audit. Okay. So you basically be able to go to the page, and you'll type in your website, and we'll automatically do an audit, and we'll deliver that to you. And then if you want to talk, we can set up a consultation appointment for that and talk about it. That's kind of the way I work. I usually want to find out what your business is. I don't work, so can I get a price? Well, it's hard for me to give you a price if I don't understand what your goal is and what you're trying to do on the long term. I'm not looking to build the cheapest website out there because it doesn't work in the model that we use.
Yeah.
I'm looking to build an SEO optimized website and then figure out an SEO plan for the next year. In the short term, a paid search plan to get you ranking on Google pretty well. Depending on your business, I'm converting your LinkedIn profile from I need a job to I'm a business owner and this is what we do.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is incredible for prospecting for a lot of different businesses. That's kind of our strategy on how we just like to work with people and kind of do a free consulting and see if there's a right fit to work together.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Chris. Fun. I enjoyed it.
I always love talking SEO and digital marketing and stuff. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a very interesting psychological I mean, yeah, I could talk 40 minutes on just like the psychology of like SEO and A/B testing and all.
We'll have to get into some of that stuff next time because,
Yep.
like I said, marketing, we can go forever on these things.
Right, right.
Yeah, so we'll definitely get into that next time around. So awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
And thank you everyone else for listening. Definitely reach out if you need SEO help. There's always room for improvement, so reach out. Everyone have a great day.